This video is brought to you by Nebula. Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, wants to transform Italian democracy. She's big plans to shake up Italy's constitution, including a key reform which would give more fiscal autonomy to Italy's 20 regions. But the reform has exposed deep wounds in Italy's national psyche, dividing the prosperous north, which the opposition believes will benefit from the changes, from the historically deprived south, a split that dates back more or less to the country's unification in the 19th century. It's a split that has never truly healed. Today, Italy's southern regions are among the poorest in the EU, while northern regions are among the wealthiest. So in this video, we're going to take a look at who's behind this devolution law, why it's received so much backlash, and how it fits into Meloni's bigger constitutional overhaul. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. So who actually proposed the bill? Well, the devolution law is a flagship proposal of Matteo Salvini, Italy's current Deputy Prime Minister and leader of Italy's far-right League Party, which co-governs with Meloni's Brothers of Italy. Before Salvini took the reins of the party in 2013, the party was a hardline regional separatist movement, called then Lega Nord, meaning Northern League, led by Umberto Bossi. The party was formed between 1989 and 1991, when Bossi, then leader of the Lombard League, united with 5 other northern parties. Initially, these parties focused on regional autonomy, but the formation of the Northern League shifted this to advocating for an independent northern state called Padania. Unsurprisingly, their core support came from northern regions, particularly among young men, who resonated with the party's North First ideals and traditional values. The party also received large support for its criticism of government corruption, and more importantly, from business groups in the heavily industrialised north, who resented their tax revenues being transferred every year to Rome and less developed provinces in the south. The party often depicted southern Italians as inferior and bred resentment towards the south, who were seen as benefiting unfairly from the north's economic success. Basically, bashing the supposedly lazy, corrupt and mafia-infested southerners has long been a vote winner in the north. Nevertheless, and for obvious reasons, the party never garnered mass support outside of the north. However, once Salvini took over in 2013, the party had a big rebrand in an effort to broaden its appeal beyond northern Italy. After dropping Nord from its name in 2017 and issuing a direct apology to Southerners for its years of prejudice, the party shifted its ideological focus from Italian regionalism to Italian nationalism, with a bit of Euroscepticism peppered in. Basically, the rhetoric has shifted from blaming Southerners to criticising the EU and immigrants, while maintaining the core belief that Italy is being unfairly treated by centralised powers. And this rebrand ended up really working for them, and they ended up winning 17.4% of the vote in Italy's 2018 parliamentary election, their best result ever. However, the meteoric rise of Meloni and her Brothers of Italy party soon replaced the League as the major right-wing party in Italy, following the 2022 elections, which saw Brothers of Italy win 26% of the vote compared with League's 9%. The election capitulated Meloni into the driver's seat of a right-wing governing alliance with Salvini's League and Silvio Berlusconi's centre-right party, Forza Italia. Now, 2 years later, Meloni has introduced a new bill, the Calderoli Law, proposed and spearheaded by the League. The bill in question gives regions more power over how their tax revenues are collected and spent over public services such as health and education. Basically, the new law will allow regions to retain their taxes rather than sending them to Rome. In June, the bill was passed with 172 votes in favour and 99 against, which marked a rare policy win for Salvini's embattled party. The League hopes that this law will revive its fortunes in its traditionalist northern strongholds. Northern regions like Lombardy, Veneto and Emilia-Romagna were the first regions that requested these new powers. Lombardy alone pays about €50 billion a year more in tax than it receives. Salvini hailed the law as a victory for all Italians and a step towards a more efficient and a more modern Italy, with less waste and more services for all citizens from north to south. However, the bill received massive backlash from the opposition, who criticised Meloni for bowing down to the League's old secessionist dreams. The opposition have warned that the policy would exacerbate the north-south divide by allowing wealthier regions to keep more of their tax earnings, leaving fewer financial resources for poorer regions. For instance, if Lombardy, Veneto and Emilia-Romagna retain their taxes, there will be an estimated €190 billion less for the rest of the country, most of which would have gone to the south. The new law may allow richer regions to increase health spending, while poorer regions remain at the state's minimum levels. This could lead to increased internal migration from poorer to wealthier regions, which could end up depopulating the south. In a bid to overturn the law, Democratic Party leaders said that they would attempt to gather the 500,000 signatures necessary to hold a national referendum on it. Aside from Meloni's opposition, the Bank of Italy and the European Commission have also expressed concerns about this reform. While Meloni's autonomy plan is intended to be budget neutral, both bodies have warned that more fiscal federalism in Italy could overburden the country's finances, which is already facing a high deficit problem. Now, this is obviously a big win for the League, since they've always been vocal advocates for greater regional autonomy. But at first glance, it's not clear why Meloni's Brothers for Italy party have agreed to it, given that, in the past, they had deep reservations over devolution of fiscal powers to the regions. In fact, over a decade ago, Meloni even called for the abolition of regional governments, saying they increased opportunities for corruption, and that power should be fully centralised in Rome. However, following the bill's passage last month, Meloni said this is a step towards building a stronger and fairer Italy, to overcome the differences that there are today between the various parts of the country. So why this sudden U-turn, and what's exactly in it for Meloni? Well, analysts say it's essentially a quid pro quo to solidify and ensure League support for Meloni's wider proposed overhaul of Italy's constitution. Described by Meloni as the mother of all reforms, this overhaul includes a bill allowing for the direct election of the Prime Minister. Under the proposed bill, the Prime Minister would be elected for 5 years, and the coalition supporting the winning candidate would be given at least 55% of seats via a new majoritarian electoral system. In other words, whichever party wins the most votes, even if that were a narrow plurality of, say, 20% of the national vote, they'll be rewarded with outright parliamentary control. Meloni has argued that this helps end Italy's revolving door government, which, to be fair, is a legitimate concern, considering that over the past 3 decades, Italian governments have lasted on average only 2 years, although it would obviously make the Italian parliament significantly less proportional. More anxious critics also argue that the bill, reminiscent of a constitutional change made by the fascist dictator Benito Mussolini about a century ago, could lead Italy towards authoritarianism and solidify Meloni's grip on power. Keep diving deeper into this and other news stories over on Nebula, where the TLDR team curates the most important news videos from around the world, saving you from a deluge of bad news and helping you pay attention to what really matters. That means no more feeling out of touch. On Nebula News, the TLDR team acts as your guide through the media landscape, sharing the news we're paying attention to, helping you find stories that matter and avoiding burnout. If you don't know already, Nebula is the streaming service that we co-own with a bunch of your favourite creators. There you can watch original content like Real Life Law's incredible series War Room, which every month runs you through a whole load of ongoing conflicts, keeping you in the loop. You can also watch every TLDR video on Nebula ad-free, and in many instances before they land on YouTube. If you're not a member already, then click the link in the description to sign up now. If you do, you'll get 40% off an annual plan by using our link. Plus, Nebula will know you came from us, which really helps us out. We've got some really great feedback from existing members, so I hope you enjoy all the effort we're going to with Nebula News.